Tonight, let's journey together to a distant kingdom where golden suns and silver moons watch over a peaceful land. But a shadow has fallen, and a young prince must embark on a brave quest to save his father. As you listen, let the calm of the night surround you, and drift into a peaceful sleep with the sound of this magical tale. In a kingdom far beyond the mountains and across the emerald seas, where the sun generously shared its warmth and the moon bathed the land in a gentle glow, a shadow had fallen. This realm, known for its bountiful harvests and the joyous laughter of its people, now lay enveloped in an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional whisper of the wind. At the heart of this sorrow was the king, a ruler as wise as he was kind, struck down by a mysterious illness that no herb, potion, or spell could mend. The royal healers, with furrowed brows and hands worn from their relentless efforts, had tried every remedy known to the kingdom and beyond. Yet, with each passing day, the king's strength waned, his once robust voice now a faint whisper, echoing through the grand halls of the castle. The queen, her heart heavy with grief, kept a constant vigil by his bedside, her prayers mingling with the soft sounds of the king's laboured breaths. News of the king's ailment spread like wildfire, casting a pall over the land. Fields lay forgotten, their crops swaying untended in the breeze. Marketplaces, once bustling centres of laughter and trade, stood empty, the joy of the people extinguished by their concern for their beloved ruler. In the midst of this despair, the prince, a young man of noble heart and spirited valor, watched his father's decline with a resolve that hardened with each passing moment. He knew that the time for mere hope had passed. Action was needed, a solution that lay beyond the confines of their knowledge and realm. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, a figure cloaked in the mysteries of the ages arrived at the castle gates. This was the ancient healer, a being whose knowledge of the arcane and medicinal had been sought after by generations long past. With eyes that held the wisdom of the ages, she was led to the king's chamber, where the air hung heavy with the scent of potent herbs and the whispered fears of the inevitable. The ancient healer, with movements as fluid as the rivers that carved the landscapes of the world, approached the ailing king. Her hands, as delicate as the petals of the night-blooming cerise, yet strong with the force of life itself, hovered over the king, sensing the depths of his affliction. After moments that stretched like eons, she spoke, her voice a melody that seemed to intertwine the very essence of the earth and sky. "The illness that grips your king is beyond the reach of mortal hands," she began, her gaze never wavering from the faces of the royal family. "But there is a power, ancient and nearly forgotten, that holds the promise of salvation. The phoenix, a creature of fire and rebirth, possesses a feather imbued with the light of life itself. Only this feather can draw back the shadow that has befallen your king." A hush fell upon the room, the very air seeming to still at the mention of the phoenix. Legends of this mythical creature were woven into the tapestries of the kingdom's lore, tales of its endless cycle of death and rebirth, its majesty and power a beacon of hope and renewal. The prince, with a heart ignited by the flicker of hope in the ancient healer's words, stepped forward. "Tell me where I may find this phoenix," he implored, his voice steady with a resolve that belied his youth. The ancient healer looked upon him, her gaze piercing the veils of doubt and fear. "The journey is fraught with peril, a path through realms untamed and forgotten by time. But if your heart is true, and your courage unwavering, seek the phoenix at the summit of the fire mountain, where the flames kiss the sky." With the healer's words echoing through the chamber, the prince made his decision. A quest lay before him, a quest for the life of his father and the salvation of his kingdom. The path would be treacherous, the challenges many, but the flame of hope, once dim, now burned brightly within him. As dawn broke, casting a golden light over the kingdom, the prince stood before the castle, his silhouette framed against the rising sun. Today, he was not merely the heir to the throne, but a son embarking on a perilous journey for the love of his ailing father. The ancient healer's words had kindled a spark within him, a determination that not even the darkest shadows could smother. Gathered around him were the loyal subjects and valiant knights of the realm, their faces a mix of admiration and concern. Among them stood his mother, the queen, her eyes brimming with unshed tears, yet shining with pride. "My son," she began, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions raging within her. "You embark on a quest that speaks of your courage and the depth of your love. Carry with you the strength of our people, and let the light of your heart guide you through the shadows." The prince bowed, a silent promise made not just to his mother, but to his people, to return with the phoenix feather and restore hope to the kingdom. He then turned, his gaze sweeping over the faces of those he was leaving behind, memorizing each one, for they were the reason he must succeed. Among the crowd, his companions stood ready, a band of brave souls who had stepped forward to join him on his quest. There was the knight, Sir Eldric, whose sword had sung in many battles, his strength and valor known throughout the land. Beside him was Myra, a mage of the ancient arts, her knowledge of magic rivaled only by her unwavering spirit. And there was Leo, the prince's childhood friend, an expert archer whose arrows never missed their mark. With final embraces and whispered prayers, the prince and his companions set forth, their steps resolute as they began their journey towards the enchanted forest, the first of many trials they would face. The path before them was veiled in mist, a reminder of the uncertainties that lay ahead. Yet, their spirits were buoyed by the cause that united them, a beacon that would light their way through the darkest hours. Before leaving the bounds of the kingdom, the prince and his companions sought the wisdom of the ancient archives, where scrolls as old as the kingdom itself whispered secrets long forgotten. Myra, with her knowledge of the arcane, led their study, deciphering the cryptic texts that spoke of the phoenix and the perilous journey to its abode. They learned of the enchanted forest, a realm where time flowed like a meandering river, and creatures of legend roamed under its canopy. Beyond lay the whispering plains, where the grass sang of ancient sorrows, and the mountains that touched the heavens, guarding secrets in their stony hearts. Armed with this knowledge, they turned to the royal armory and the alchemist's quarters, gathering items of power and protection. Enchanted armor that could withstand the fiercest of flames, swords imbued with the light of the moon, and potions that could heal wounds or render them invisible to prying eyes. The night before their departure, the kingdom came together in the great hall, a feast laid out in honor of the prince and his brave companions. Songs were sung and tales were told of heroes past and the adventures that awaited. And as the night deepened, the prince looked upon his people, their faces alight with torches and hope, and he felt their love and faith weaving a shield around his heart. With the first light of dawn, the gates of the castle opened, and the prince, flanked by his companions, stepped beyond the familiar into a world of unknown dangers and wonders. Behind them, the kingdom watched, hearts heavy yet filled with hope, as their champions disappeared into the horizon, where adventure and destiny awaited. As the party ventured beyond the castle walls, the kingdom's landscape unfolded before them, a tapestry of rolling hills and verdant fields, soon to give way to the mysteries of the enchanted forest. The air was crisp, filled with the promise of adventure and the peril that lay ahead. The prince, leading his companions, carried the weight of his kingdom's hopes like a banner, unseen yet felt in the resolve of his stride. Their journey took them through villages where the people came forth to offer blessings and tokens of goodwill. Children, wide-eyed with wonder, ran alongside them for as long as they could, while elders whispered prayers to old gods for their safe return. Each gesture, each word, was a thread woven into the cloak of courage that adorned the prince and his companions, a reminder of what they fought for. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, they made camp at the edge of the enchanted forest. The boundary between the known and the unknown lay before them, a verdant wall that seemed to breathe, its whispers carrying tales of those who had ventured within and never returned. That night, under a blanket of stars, the prince addressed his companions, his voice a steady flame in the darkness. Tomorrow, we step into a world beyond our own, where the very air shimmers with magic and the ground teems with life unseen. Let us hold fast to the bonds that unite us, for it is together that we will overcome the trials that await. Sir Eldric, Myra, and Leo gathered around the fire, their faces illuminated by its glow, pledged their allegiance anew. Each brought their strength to this fellowship, the sword, the spell, and the arrow bound by the heart of the prince, who sought to mend a kingdom with the feather of a phoenix. With the dawn, the forest greeted them, its canopy a tapestry of light and shadow, woven by the fingers of the rising sun. The air was alive with the murmur of leaves and the distant call of creatures unknown. Stepping into the embrace of the enchanted forest was like entering a dream, where reality blurred at the edges, and the impossible seemed within reach. The path they followed was an ancient one, marked by stones that hummed with a faint glow, remnants of a magic that had seen the passage of ages. Myra, with her mage's sight, guided them, her staff alight with an ethereal flame that pierced the gloom. It wasn't long before the forest revealed its guardians, beings of bark and leaf that moved with the grace of the wind. They challenged the intruders, voices echoing like the rustle of leaves, demanding to know their purpose. The prince, with the eloquence of one who had learned the languages of diplomacy and heart, spoke of their quest, of love and duty that transcended the boundaries of their world. Moved by his words, the guardians bestowed their blessing, a gift of passage that enfolded the party in a cloak of invisibility, shielding them from the less benevolent denizens of the forest. With this boon, they journeyed deeper into the heart of the enchanted forest, where the trees whispered secrets of old, and the air shimmered with the magic of the ancient world. Their path was fraught with challenges, each a test of their resolve and unity. They encountered a chasm that yawned like the maw of the world, its depths hidden by a veil of mist. Here, Leo's skill with the rope and grappling hook proved their salvation, creating a bridge that carried them across the abyss. As night fell, they found themselves in a clearing bathed in moonlight, a sanctuary amidst the whispering shadows. Here they rested, the forest's magic ebbing like the tide, granting them a moment's peace. In the hush of the night, the prince reflected on the journey thus far, the trials faced, and those that lay ahead. His heart, though burdened with the weight of his quest, was buoyed by the presence of his companions, each a beacon of strength and loyalty. As the first light of dawn touched the tips of the trees, the party rose, ready to continue their journey through the enchanted forest and beyond, towards the legends that awaited them in the realms of magic and mystery. Leaving the whispers of the enchanted forest behind, our travelers emerged into a clearing where the sun cast its gaze upon the earth, unfettered by the cloak of leaves. Before them stood the entrance to a cavern, its maw wide and inviting, yet guarded by a figure wrought from stone. The stone guardian, ancient as the hills and stern as the ages, blocked their path, its gaze fixed upon the prince and his companions. "Who seeks passage through my domain?" Its voice boomed, echoing off the stone walls that framed the world around them. "Only those worthy, wise of heart and sharp of mind may walk the path that lies beyond." The prince stepped forward, his heart steady and his voice clear. "We seek the phoenix to save my father, the king, and restore our kingdom," he declared. "Grant us passage, guardian, for our cause is just and our hearts are true." The stone guardian regarded them, its eyes glinting like jewels in the sunlight. "A noble quest," it rumbled, "but nobility alone cannot clear the path. Answer my riddle, and I shall let you pass. Fail, and you shall turn back, your quest unfulfilled." The air grew heavy with anticipation as the guardian spoke its riddle. "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I?" The companions huddled together, their minds racing through tales of old and lore of the lands. Sir Eldric thought of mighty beasts and enchanted armors. Myra pondered spells and ancient magics. Leo considered the creatures of the forest and the secrets they held. Yet, it was the prince, with a heart open to the world and its wonders, who found the answer. "Echo," he said, his voice carrying a quiet confidence. "You are an echo." A moment passed, as if the world itself held its breath. Then, the stone guardian smiled, a sight wondrous and strange to behold on such a stern visage. "Correct," it boomed, stepping aside. "Wisdom has cleared your path, Prince. Go forth, and may your quest bear fruit." Grateful, the party passed the guardian, their spirits lifted by the victory. Yet the prince knew this was but the first of many challenges they would face. The wisdom to answer a riddle was a different kind of strength, one that would be tested again before their journey's end. Beyond the guardian's realm lay the river of whispers, a silver thread that sliced through the landscape, its waters clear as crystal and as deep as the secrets it held. It was said that the river reflected not just the face of the one who looked upon it, but the depths of their soul, revealing fears hidden even from themselves. The travelers approached its banks with trepidation, for to cross the river was to confront the shadows within. One by one, they stepped onto the fragile boat that awaited them, its timbers groaning under their weight, as if reluctant to bear them across. As they made their passage, the river began to murmur, voices rising from the depths, weaving into the very fabric of their thoughts. Sir Eldric heard the clash of swords and the cries of the fallen, the fears of battles lost and honor forsaken. Myra saw the flames of magic turned against her, the power she wielded becoming her undoing. Leo faced the silence of the forest, the bow in his hand heavy with the weight of missed marks and lost companions. And the prince? He saw the kingdom in ruins, His quest failed, and his father's light extinguished. The weight of these visions bore down upon him, a tempest threatening to drown his spirit. Yet, it was in the heart of this tempest that the prince found his resolve. Clasping the hands of his companions, he spoke words of courage and hope, a beacon that cut through the darkness of their fears. Together, they faced the whispers, acknowledging their fears but not allowing them to hold sway. When at last they reached the far shore, they stepped off the boat lighter, their fears left to drift away on the river of whispers. They had faced the depths of their souls and emerged stronger, united by the trials endured and the trials yet to come. The journey had forged them anew, ready to face whatever the path ahead might hold, for they knew now that the greatest strength lay in the heart and in the bonds that tied them to each other. Weary from their journey, the travelers stumbled upon a glade that seemed untouched by time. Here, the air was sweet with the scent of blossoms, and the light danced through the leaves, painting the ground with patterns of gold and shadow. In the heart of this serene sanctuary, a feast was laid out, a bounty such as they had not seen since leaving the kingdom. Fruits that shimmered with an inner light, breads that seemed to glow with warmth, and goblets filled with a nectar that promised to quench the deepest thirst. The sight of such a feast stirred a longing in their hearts, a yearning for the comfort and solace of home. Yet, as they moved to sit, the prince felt a stir of unease, a whisper in his heart that warned of deception. "My friends, wait," he said, his voice cutting through the spell of the glade. "All is not as it seems. We have ventured into realms where magic weaves its web, and illusions prey on the weary." Sir Eldric, Myra, and Leo paused, their hands inches from the feast that promised rest and rejuvenation. Myra, her eyes sharp with the light of her arcane knowledge, cast a spell that peeled away the layers of enchantment. Before their eyes, the feast faded, revealing a table laden with rot and goblets filled with nothing but mist. Laughter echoed around them, light and mocking, as the spirits responsible for the illusion revealed themselves. "Few are those who resist our feast," they chimed, their forms shimmering like the air above a flame. "Wiser still are those who see through our veil." The prince, standing firm in the face of their mischief, replied, "We seek the phoenix, and no illusion, however tempting, will lead us astray. Your feast is but a diversion, and our resolve remains unbroken." The spirits, amused by his audacity, vanished with one final peal of laughter, leaving the travelers alone in the glade, the illusion shattered. Though they had lost nothing but time, the encounter served as a reminder of the dangers that lay in seeking comfort where none was to be found. With renewed determination, they set forth from the glade, their spirits undimmed by the encounter. The path ahead led them to the mouth of a cave, where darkness pooled like ink beneath the earth. Here, the air was cold, and silence reigned, a stark contrast to the vibrant life of the glade they had left behind. The Cave of Shadows, as it was known in tales of old, was a place where light feared to tread, and the darkness was a living thing, eager to swallow unwary travelers. Gripping their torches, the party entered, the darkness enveloping them like a cloak. The deeper they ventured, the more the shadows began to stir, taking form and substance. They whispered of doubts and fears, mirroring the darkest thoughts of those who dared to tread their domain. Sir Eldric's shadows spoke of battles where courage faltered and honor was lost. Myra's conjured visions of spells turned against her, the magic she wielded becoming her downfall. Leo saw the forests of his youth consumed by flame, his arrows unable to turn back the tide of destruction. And the prince? His shadows were of a kingdom in ruins, his quest failed, and his father's life extinguished like a candle in the wind. These visions sought to break their spirit, to drown them in the depths of their own despair. Yet, it was in the heart of this darkness that they found their strength. Holding fast to one another, they pressed on, their light a defiant flame in the void. With each step, they reclaimed their fears, acknowledging them but refusing to be defined by them. At last, they emerged from the other side of the cave, the darkness receding like a tide. The light of day greeted them, warm and welcoming, and they stepped forth, not unscathed, but stronger for having faced the shadows. Together, they had found the light within, a beacon that would guide them through the trials to come. After emerging from the cave of shadows, the travelers found themselves in a part of the forest where moonlight filtered through the canopy, casting the world in a silver glow. It was here, in the serene calm of the twilight forest, that they encountered the moonlit stag, a creature of legend said to walk the spaces between worlds. The stag stood before them, its antlers a crown woven from the very essence of the moonlight. Its coat shimmered with an ethereal light, and its eyes held the wisdom of the ages. The presence of such a being filled the travelers with a sense of awe, and they knew they stood before a guardian of the ancient paths. Travelers of the mortal realm, the stag spoke, its voice a melody that resonated with the soul of the world. You seek the path to the phoenix, a journey few have dared and fewer still have completed. The way is fraught with peril, but the heart that is true and the will that is strong can endure the trials. The prince stepped forward, his heart open to the wisdom of the creature before them. Great stag, we are driven by a cause that is just, to save a life and restore a kingdom. Guide us, that we may not falter in our quest. The stag regarded them, its gaze piercing the veil of their fears and desires, seeing the truth of their hearts. Look to the stars, it advised, for in their light lies the path to the fire mountain. Follow the hunter's bow, for it points the way to your destiny. But be warned, the journey will test you to your very core. With a nod of its majestic head, the stag turned, vanishing into the forest as silently as it had appeared, leaving behind a trail of luminescent hoofprints that faded into the night. The travelers, heartened by the encounter, looked up to the night sky, where the stars shone with a clarity that pierced the veil of the forest canopy. Guided by the cryptic advice of the moonlit stag, the party set their course by the stars, the constellation of the hunter serving as their guide through the winding paths of the forest. As they journeyed, the terrain began to change, the trees thinning out to reveal the sprawling expanse of the whispering plains, where the grasses whispered secrets of the ancient world. The path was long and the journey arduous, but the travelers were undaunted. They had faced illusions and shadows, confronted their deepest fears, and emerged stronger for it. The trials they had endured had forged them into a single force, bound by a shared destiny and a common cause. At last, the plains gave way to rising ground, and the silhouette of the fire mountain appeared on the horizon, its peak shrouded in smoke and flame. The sight of their goal ignited a new fire in their hearts, a blaze of determination that burned away the weariness of their journey. As they approached the base of the mountain, the air grew warm, and the ground beneath their feet rumbled with the mountain's slumbering power. Here, at the edge of the world they knew, the final trial awaited them. The journey had prepared them, teaching them the value of wisdom, courage, and friendship. Now, they stood ready to face whatever trials lay ahead, their hearts united in the quest for the phoenix feather. The path of stars had led them to the threshold of destiny, to the moment that would define their journey. Ahead lay the ascent to the fire mountain, where the phoenix awaited, the keeper of the flame that could heal the king and restore the kingdom. With resolve in their hearts and the light of the stars guiding their way, the travelers took their first steps towards the summit, where the greatest challenge of their quest awaited them. The journey to the peak of the fire mountain was a trial like no other, a testament to the courage and resolve of the prince and his companions. The path wound its way up the mountain's flank, through landscapes born of fire and smoke. The air grew thick with the scent of sulfur, and the ground beneath their feet shifted with the mountain's restive slumber. The heat was a living thing, a beast that sought to sap their strength and will with its oppressive embrace. Flames danced like spectres at the edge of their vision, a reminder of the mountain's power and the creature that lay in wait at its summit. Yet, through this inferno, the travelers pressed on, their spirits undimmed by the flames that sought to claim them. Sir Eldric, with his shield raised against the heat, led the way, his strength a bulwark against the mountain's fury. Myra, her spells weaving a protective barrier around them, chanted incantations that cooled the air, allowing them to breathe amid the searing heat. Leo, ever vigilant, scouted ahead, his eyes sharp for any sign of danger that might lurk within the flames. The prince, at the heart of their circle, was the flame that drove them forward, his resolve unshaken by the mountain's challenge. His heart, fueled by the love for his father and his kingdom, was a beacon that guided them through the darkest moments of their ascent. As they neared the summit, the mountain's wrath intensified, the ground trembling beneath their feet, and the air filled with the roar of fire. Yet, it was here, in the face of the mountain's might, that the travelers found their greatest strength, a unity forged in the fires of their journey. At the summit, the world opened up before them, a plateau ringed with fire, at the center of which stood the guardian of flames, a creature of myth wrought from the very essence of the mountain. Its body was a tapestry of fire and ash, its eyes glowing coals that pierced the veil of heat surrounding it. The guardian regarded them, its voice a rumble that echoed the mountain's depths. Who dares to seek the phoenix, to challenge the fire that consumes and renews? It demanded, its stance a challenge that brooked no denial. The prince stepped forward, his voice steady despite the heat that sought to overwhelm him. We come seeking the phoenix's feather to save my father and restore my kingdom, he declared, his heart laid bare before the creature of fire. We have faced trials and overcome, our resolve tempered in the fires of our quest. Grant us passage, Guardian, for our cause is just. The Guardian studied them, its gaze assessing their mettle, weighing the truth of their words against the flames that forged its being. Courage and resolve you have shown, but one final test awaits, it said. Prove your heart's strength, and the path to the phoenix shall be yours. With those words, the Guardian unleashed its fury, a maelstrom of fire and smoke that sought to engulf them. Sir Eldric raised his shield, holding back the flames as Myra's spells wove a shield of magic around them. Leo's arrows flew, their tips alight with enchanted fire, seeking the heart of the Guardian. Yet, it was the prince who faced the Guardian, not with sword or spell, but with the strength of his heart. He stepped into the heart of the flame, his voice rising above the roar of the fire. We seek not to conquer, but to heal. Your fire burns, but within it lies the power to save. See the truth of our quest, and let us pass. The guardian, moved by the prince's words and the purity of his heart, ceased its assault. The flames receded, and the creature of fire and ash bowed its head in acknowledgement. Go forth, it said, its voice now a whisper of embers. The phoenix awaits, and with it, the hope of renewal. With the guardian's blessing, the travelers crossed the plateau, their spirits lifted by the victory. Ahead lay the eyrie of the phoenix, the final leg of their journey, where destiny awaited. Beyond the realm of flame and ash, in a sanctuary untouched by the mountain's fury, they found the phoenix. Its plumage was a tapestry of fire, each feather alight with the dawn's first blush, its eyes deep pools of wisdom that had seen the cycle of ages come and go. The air around it shimmered with the heat of its being, yet within its gaze lay a calm that spoke of rebirth and renewal. The creature's beauty was beyond words, a living embodiment of fire's dual nature, destruction and creation, end and beginning. The travelers stood in awe, their journey's end within reach. Yet it was the prince who stepped forward, his heart the vessel of their hopes. Great Phoenix, he began, his voice a steady flame amid the radiance of the creature before him. We have journeyed far, faced trials that tested our resolve, our wisdom, and our courage. I stand before you, seeking the feather that can save my father and restore my kingdom. The phoenix regarded him, its gaze piercing the veils of his heart, laying bare the depth of his courage and the purity of his intent. Many seek my feather for power, for glory, or for greed, the phoenix spoke, its voice the crackle of flame, the warmth of a hearth. Yet you seek it for love, for duty. But one test remains, to see if your heart is true. The air around them grew warm, the light intensifying as the phoenix's power enveloped the prince. Visions flashed before him, the potential futures that lay ahead. Power, glory, the love of his people. But intertwined with these were the sacrifices, the weight of the crown, the loneliness of command. Will you bear this burden, knowing the path of a ruler is a solitary one? The phoenix asked, its voice now a gentle murmur amid the storm of visions. Will you hold to your course, even when the darkness comes, when the love of your people turns to scorn? The prince, standing amid the whirlwind of potential futures, found within him the unshakable core of his resolve. I will, he declared, his voice resounding with the strength of his conviction. For it is not for power or glory that I seek your feather, but to serve, to heal, to protect. I am ready for the burdens it brings, for the sake of those I love. The visions faded, the warmth receding as the phoenix's gaze softened, a nod of acknowledgement to the prince's declaration. Your heart is true and your spirit is pure, the phoenix affirmed. You have passed the test. With a graceful motion, the phoenix spread its wings, the light around them intensifying, a dawn breaking upon a world held in suspense. From its plumage, it plucked a single feather, a blaze of light that seemed to contain the very essence of life itself. The air thrummed with power as the phoenix approached the prince, the feather held within its beak. This is my gift to you, a token of your courage, your purity of heart, the phoenix intoned, placing the feather in the prince's outstretched hand. With it, you carry the power of renewal, the promise of a dawn after the darkest night. The feather was warm to the touch, its light pulsing in tandem with the prince's heartbeat, a beacon of hope that had been earned through trials and perseverance. The prince bowed deeply, a gesture of respect and gratitude to the majestic creature before him. "Thank you, great Phoenix," he said, his heart swelling with the realization of their journey's end. "With this gift, I will return hope to my kingdom, heal my father, and stand guard over the light you have entrusted to me." The phoenix nodded, a flicker of satisfaction in its gaze. "Go forth with my blessing," it said, as it began to dissolve into light, a phoenix preparing to be reborn from its ashes. "Let the fire of your heart light the world." With the phoenix's feather in hand, the travelers turned homeward, the journey back to the kingdom lit by the promise of renewal and the dawn of a new era. The path ahead was clear, their hearts light with the knowledge that the greatest trial had been overcome and the greatest gift secured. With the phoenix's feather clutched tightly in the prince's hand, a symbol of hope and renewal, the travelers turned their faces towards home. The journey back to the kingdom was no less perilous than the path they had tread to reach the Fire Mountain, but they were no longer the same souls who had set out on this quest. They were tempered by their trials, their wisdom deepened, and their bonds unbreakable. The return journey tested them in new ways, challenging their resolve and the lessons they had learned. They navigated the whispering plains, where the grasses told tales of futures possible and paths untaken, their voices a test of their determination. But the travelers walked on, guided by the steadfastness of their purpose. In the depths of the enchanted forest, where shadows lingered and light played tricks, they faced creatures of darkness, remnants of fears once conquered. Yet, with the light of the phoenix's feather, they cast aside the shadows, their path illuminated by the promise they carried. Each challenge they encountered on their way back was met with courage and a wisdom born of their trials. The unity and trust among them, forged in the fires of their quest, saw them through the darkest moments, a beacon that led them ever onwards. As they neared the kingdom, the landscape began to shift, the devastation wrought by the king's illness visible in the land itself. Fields lay fallow, and villages were silent, the shadow of despair still clinging to the realm. Yet the travelers pressed on, the phoenix's feather a harbinger of the renewal soon to come. The return of the prince and his companions was heralded by a light on the horizon, a glow that pierced the pall of despair hanging over the kingdom. As they entered the gates, the people gathered, their faces lined with hardship, but alight with the spark of hope rekindled at the sight of their heroes returned. Straight to the castle they went, where the king lay still upon his bed, the shadow of illness a stark contrast to the light of hope that entered with the prince. In the silence of the chamber, the prince approached his father, the phoenix's feather held forth like a beacon in the darkness. With a gentle touch, he laid the feather upon his father's chest, and the air shimmered with a power ancient and pure. Light enveloped the king, weaving around him a tapestry of healing that penetrated the depths of his malady. The shadow lifted, the pallor of illness replaced by the flush of life returning in a rush. The king's eyes opened, clear and bright, gazing upon his son and the companions who had stood by him through the darkest of trials. A cheer rose from the people gathered, a sound that carried the weight of their relief and joy, echoing through the halls and beyond the castle walls. The land itself seemed to respond to the king's healing, the fields once again bursting into life, the rivers running clear and strong. Hope bloomed like flowers after the first rain of spring, and the kingdom, which had been held in the grip of despair, was reborn. The return of the prince and the healing of the king became a tale told through the ages, a story of courage, wisdom, and the power of love to overcome the darkest trials. The kingdom flourished, its people united by the trials they had faced and the victory they had shared. In the heart of the castle, a new tapestry was woven, depicting the journey of the prince and his companions, a reminder of the quest that had brought them to the brink of despair and back, led by the light of the phoenix's feather. In the wake of the kingdom's rebirth, a day came to be marked by golden sunlight and the laughter of a people united under the banner of hope. It was a day of celebration, for it heralded the coronation of the prince, whose journey had led them from the shadow of despair into the light of a new dawn. The castle courtyard, where once the air was heavy with worry, now thrummed with excitement. Banners fluttered in the breeze, their colours bright against the blue sky, and the air was filled with the scent of flowers and the sound of music. The people of the kingdom, from the farthest reaches of the land, had gathered to witness the crowning of their hero, their faces alight with joy and pride. Amidst the pomp and pageantry, the prince stood before them, no longer just a son on a quest for his father's life, but a leader forged in the crucible of trials untold. Dressed in the regalia of his office, he carried himself with a grace that spoke of wisdom beyond his years, his gaze alight with the promise of the future he envisioned for his realm. The ceremony was a tapestry of ancient traditions and solemn vows, as the crown of the kingdom was placed upon his head. The weight of it was light compared to the burdens he had borne, the trials he had overcome to stand before his people as their king. As your king, I vow to lead with the courage that guided us through the darkest night, with the wisdom that found the path where none seemed to exist, and with the compassion that binds us together, strong and united, he declared, his voice carrying across the gathered throng. Together, we have faced the darkness and emerged into the light. Let us now walk forward into a future bright with promise, guided by the lessons of our past. The cheers that rose from the people were a roar, a wave of sound that carried the weight of their relief, their hope, and their belief in the king who had led them back from the brink. They saw in him not just a ruler, but a beacon of light, a symbol of the resilience and strength of their kingdom. In the days that followed, the kingdom flourished as never before. Fields yielded bountiful harvests, and the kingdom's halls rang with the sounds of prosperity and peace. The king, with his council of trusted companions and advisors, guided the realm with a hand that was fair and just, his rule marked by the wisdom and compassion that had earned him the throne.